Ready.
Thanks, Brian, and we welcome you back to Lemoore, California, the Tachi Palace Hotel and Casino. Friday Night Fights presented by Cerveza Tecate. As the Beybout chants have started here. Beybout Šumenov, perhaps one of the least known titleists in all of boxing. Earlier this year, he captured a belt that once belonged to many more famous names like Roy Jones Jr. and accomplished light heavyweights. Tonight, he's out to prove that he deserves to keep it. The challenge is by Vячеslav Узелkov at 22-0. And there is the Ukrainian Узелkov, 22-0, 15 knockouts, 31 years old, 5'11", came in 3 pounds under the limit at 172. Let's get to know him better with our BioBlast. He has gained some fame back in his native Ukraine, not from boxing, but being on reality TV. He was on their version of Dancing with the Stars. He was voted the dancer with the best smile. He's mostly gotten by on home cooking against fighters that he's far superior to. 20 of his 22 fights have been in the Ukraine. The common opponent speaks volumes. Узелkov able to knock out previously undefeated Gabriel Campillo. Šumenov struggled in 2 close fights with him, the later of which had controversial scoring in a title bout. His last fight for Узелkov was October 2009 against Tomas Adamak. Not that Tomas Adamak. This is a fighter with the same name as the former cruiserweight light heavy champ, but not the same skill. Узелkov scored 2 knockdowns, earned a 5th round TKO. Get a glimpse of that style. Can get you excited for what we're about to see here, because Beybout Šumenov is all offense, and he's 26 years old, has a 3-inch height advantage. The champ, a very unchampionship-like record of 9-1 with 6 knockouts. And Šumenov is from Kazakhstan, where he had 200 amateur bouts. Recently made Las Vegas his home base for training and business. So I guess conditioned to the heat we're here tonight recently. He has wins over former titleists Montel Griffin, Byron Mitchell. Made history, beat Campillo for the title this year. Became a light heavyweight champion with the fewest professional fights. It was just his 10th pro bout. And let's show you how it happened. It was a rematch. Šumenov lost the first fight. Beybout went forward, wild swinging ways, made for a competitive first half of that fight, was the aggressor, but constantly being outboxed by Campillo. He tired late, and then the decision, everyone ringside thought Campillo deserved a decision win. Instead it went Beybout's way. Will it go his way tonight? Teddy Atlas has the fight plan.
It's 100 degrees outside here, so the fighters better be doing this. Hydrating. If they don't, they got very bad problems. Whoever can deal with the elements better has a good chance of being the winner. Now, Šumenov, the champion, he likes to fight like this, kind of wide open. He's very gritty, very tough, very awkward, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He'll be boxing, he'll be moving around a little bit, pot-shotting a little bit. And I think Узелkov, the challenger, well, he's Tyson-like a little bit. You know, he keeps his hands up in that peekaboo. He's slipping, looking to create openings all the time. I think when you got a guy boxing like this, moving, I think Узелkov could slip a little bit. Right here, bang to the body, bang to the head, catch him going back. If Узелkov can do that, he's going to be nice and cool. He's going to be the winner. You know, I talked about Узелkov, a little Tyson-like, peekaboo, you know, coming in, creating offense with his defense, with his head movement. But look at his feet. They get a little square. That means he has to be set right in front to do something. Well, that's where the champion maybe has an edge. Šumenov, as we said, very awkward, very unorthodox, likes to move. I think he better move a little bit. Move to the side a little bit, you know, in and out, move over. And then when he's got Узелkov like this, guess what? Tyson was vulnerable to this too. You split his guard right up the middle with an uppercut. So, if you're the champion, Šumenov, you move it a little bit, pot shot and bang, move it around, and then all of a sudden, bang, bang, you pick a little spot, move around, bang, bang, pick a little spot with that uppercut. If you can do that, well, if you're Šumenov, you're keeping your title, and you're gonna be in the shade. You know what else? You're gonna cool yourself off a little bit. You're gonna feel good. You might be a little wet, but you're still going to have that belt.
WBA light heavyweight title on the line. Teddy was cooling off. Sun has set, so the temperature has finally dropped under 100 degrees for the title, and John Shorley's the referee.
This is for the WBA and IBA light heavyweight championship. Give me a good, clean fight. Obey my commands and protect yourself at all times. Я желаю вам обоим хорошего и чистого боя. Слушайте мои команды и защищайтесь. Удачи.
Oh, that's impressive.
Who knew John Shorley?
That's impressive.
With a Ukrainian dialect. Did his homework, Teddy.
Yes, he did. Little international flavor here. Should have an international ref.
Cerveza Tecate ring experience. You can see Uzelkov has had much more experience, and he was quick to point it out, saying, I think that will be the key.
I think one of the keys also might be is that Shumenov, the champion, he does something that's a big no-no for trainers. He leads with left hooks right in front of his opponent. You lead with a left hook in front of Uzelkov, you might find yourself on the seat of your pants with the punch that can catch somebody when you lead with a left hook, a straight right hand. It's been 9 months since Uzelkov has been in the ring. 6 months for Shumenov.
Shumenov landing that right hand to the body, gets the warning from Shorley to bring it up.
You know, in the lobby today, I saw Kevin Barry, who's the trainer for Shumenov, and I had to laugh to myself a little bit. He's talking about it and everything, talking about the fight, and he says, you know, Ted, I said, it's going to be a tough fight. He said, of course, Ted, I know it's going to be a tough fight. You know, we're fighting a guy in Uzelkov who has 300 amateur fights. It's tough to fight a guy with all that amateur experience. I thought to myself, wait a minute, you're talking about tough to fight a guy with all those amateur fights. Your guy is no baby when it comes to that. He had 200 amateur fights, and he fought in the Olympics. So, both fighters with plenty of amateur pedigree.
Well, you and I were talking at lunch today. You consider a guy like Uzelkov, who's 22-0. He has a good, solid win against an unbeaten contender, and, you know, worked his way up the ranks. Oh, and he scores there. Knockdown scored halfway through round number 1 by Uzelkov.
Uzelkov does not waste much. You know, while Shumenov will waste a lot, move around to get things done. He's very tough, very game, but you can find him. And Uzelkov, usually very productive. When he throws something, in his mind, it's going to land.
And Shumenov right back to work, coming back and returning fire immediately.
Well, he has that pride of a champion, and even before he was a champion, always had that kind of fighter's mentality, Shumenov. But Uzelkov, again, he covers up, puts those earmuffs on, as we talked about in the fight plan, that peekaboo, blocks real well, and he looks for spots. And while Shumenov does a lot to keep you off him, throwing punches from all different angles, Uzelkov a lot more efficient. As I said earlier, when he throws something, there's a plan behind it. He figures it has a very good chance to land. And in this hot weather, that style will favor Uzelkov. He will not spend himself and use himself up as much as Shumenov will.
Interesting opening round for the title here. We'll take a break and come back and show you the replay of the knockdown.
A very clean left hook by the challenger, Uzelkov. He dips his head a little bit just to take the eye contact away from Shumenov. Watch again. Just a little head movement, little dip of the head, distracts his man. Take one more look. Little dip of the head, and then he jumps in with a nice deliver of a left hook.
So the titleist goes down in round number 1. Beybout Shumenov went back to his corner, and he heard Kevin Barry, his trainer, said, hey, all right, we're a couple points down, but just treat it like it's any other day in the gym.
You know, if you're at home, you're thinking Uzelkov looks very, very calm. You would look calm, too, in the ring if you had 300 amateur fights.
Well, we were just having the conversation when he scored the knockdown. We were interrupted by the action. But at lunch today, I said, Teddy, he's 22-0. He's 31 years old.
Plenty of maturity, plenty of experience. But he's still going to have to earn that belt with a very gritty Shumenov. He's not giving it up without a fight. Figured coming in here, this was a very tough defense, the way I looked at it, for Shumenov. Uzelkov covers up real well. Hard to get a real clean shot on him. Probably the best shot for Shumenov is to do what we talked about in the fight plan. Split the guard with the uppercut or actually loop the shots around the gloves, around the ear of Uzelkov.
Here's what you're in store for Sunday and Monday Night Baseball this week. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. You got the Cards and the Cubs. Cards in first place in the NL Central. And then Monday Night Baseball presented by Vonage. Tigers and Rays. Both games also available on ESPN3.com.
You know, it's been the left hook that's gotten everyone's attention from Uzelkov. But again, look for the right hand in spots. The straight right hand from Uzelkov when Shumenov leads with that left hook. You lead with a left hook in front of your opponent, there's a hole that can be filled with a straight shot.
Shumenov keeping a busy work rate here in the midst of round 2.
Bad news for Shumenov, he's been on the floor. The good news, Uzelkov seems to be looking for one shot at a time, allowing Shumenov to have a good round here, a good rebound round.
Indeed it is. Well, you know, that first round was very interesting because Shumenov did so much work, but then just the one instance of the left hand from Uzelkov scoring that knockdown. And here you see the steady work rate of Shumenov.
We've already seen proof of it, but I'd say it again, Uzelkov will have to hurt Shumenov again to win this fight because Shumenov,
Stop.
the way he approaches it, he's not going to be outworked. He might catch him cleaner, but he's not going to be outworked.
Stop.
End of 2, light heavyweight title on the line.
Yep.
Next week, our main event will include the always exciting Delvin Rodriguez against Ashley Theophane. That's Friday Night Fights from Miami, Oklahoma. 9 o'clock start time next week. Delvin Rodriguez in the main event. Round number 3 here. Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas ringside at the Tachi Palace Hotel and Casino in Lemoore, California, on a scorching day that has turned into a very pleasant evening here. Beybout Shumenov, the titleist, went down in the first round thanks to a left hand by Vyacheslav Uzelkov, but bounced back in that second round with a good, steady work rate. He went back to the corner, Teddy, and Kevin Berry said, hey, I asked for 30 good, hard punches. That's what you gave me. Let's look at the CompuBox statistics through 2 rounds. And you will see the work rate of Shumenov throwing 126 punches to Uzelkov's 44. But among those 44, the left hand that scored a knockdown and a 10-8 first round.
And there was a little evidence of the right hand I talked about that you're going to see for Uzelkov, and you're going to have to see if he's going to win the title. Because there's opportunities for that right hand of Uzelkov. Either while Shumenov throws a lead left hook and leaves his face, or when he leaves that left hand out as he did a moment ago. The right hand can fit in right over the top. Nothing fancy about Shumenov. I mean, he's awkward. He's a little unorthodox. But he's usually in your grill. And he's usually always looking at chuck leather.
Just opened up right there, but the right hand was just a touch late. And there you see Uzelkov coming forward.
This is going to really be the responsibility of the judges to have their eyes on what's not thrown, but what's landed. Shumenov is going to dominate the punch numbers tonight. But you have to look to see what's landing and what's not landing. What's clean and what's effective.
And there are a lot of judges that many times when they feel a round is difficult to score, they will lean towards that simple aggression, not effective aggression, not clean, effective punches landing, but just simply who's being the aggressor, and clearly that's Shumenov.
And he's being effective this round because, quite frankly, Uzelkov putting those earmuffs on too much. Going into the defense, and his offense is just, right now, too sporadic.
Talk about scoring when you get a fight like this. It was Shumenov who benefited from ringside scoring that went his way when he won a split decision to take this WBA light heavyweight title back in January.
So far, the only offense you see from Uzelkov is power punches. No jabs at all.
End of 3. Oh! Scores a knockdown at the bell.
6, 7, 8. Okay, come here. Walk to me. Okay. Go back to your corner.
How about that? Right at the bell, Beybout Shumenov scores the knockdown.
You're throwing no punches, and that means that your opponent is going to get more and more aggressive.
You hold your hands up high. You pick your shots. Okay? You've been trying.
How about this for a title fight? 3 rounds, 2 knockdowns. Each man's been down. Let's look at how Shumenov pulled it off.
That's what you call waiting for the receipt. Right here, you see Uzelkov, he throws a punch, he stands there, he waits for his picture to be taken, and sure enough, the flashbulb comes from the right hand. He stands there after his last punch, and the right hand comes in and does the job. The right hand of the champion, Shumenov. That's a perfect example of why you're taught that lesson in the gym of moving after your last punch. Again, not like the old timers would say, waiting for the receipt.
He threw the 2-punch combination, stood there and posed, and the next thing, it was flashbulbs going off as he was on the canvas. Round number 4 WBA 175-pound title. So each man with a 10-8 round, sandwiched between Shumenov's work rate in the second round, winning that round, 28-27.
Stop. Break. Hey, look. Watch the movement.
Shumenov coming forward again, trying to place that right hand. Right hand trying to get to the body, and he sneaks it around that guard, the left hand.
Break. I got you. Break.
Uzelkov found that one spot with the left hand in the first round. But since then, he's given way to the steady aggression and work rate of Shumenov. 4-punch combination, tried to split the guard with the uppercut. Want to correct what you saw visually. We told you verbally that it was 28-27. But it was reversed in that second round when we put the graphic up for Uzelkov. Of course, it's Shumenov leading as that second round. He had good, steady bounce-back round after being knocked down in the first.
That was not the fault of the people in the truck with the graphics. My fault. A little bit of putting the right number in the wrong column.
There he's holding behind the head, and he receives the warning from John Shorley. Good long-range right hand there. 3-punch combination. Tried to finish with that right hand to the body.
I got you. Break. Step back. Thank you. Break. I got you.
Uzelkov just lingered through this 4th round after going down in the final second of that 3rd round. Four rounds into our WBA light heavyweight title fight. The left hand by Uzelkov in the 1st round, then in the 3rd, right before the bell. Shumenov returns the favor. Round 5 now. The unbeaten Uzelkov. He was so confident coming in. He said, I have the experience, had the common opponent that when you start handicapping this fight, you would say he's a clear-cut favorite. But Shumenov has come out strong here in the early going. There's that left hand that did damage in the first round. This time, Shumenov able to escape from it. You see the punch rate in round 4, Teddy.
And you know, Uzelkov, you just said it, Joe. He said before this fight, I have the experience, I'm going to win this title. He may have the experience in amateur background, as Shumenov also has that great amateur pedigree. But what Uzelkov does not have, he doesn't have that work ethic that Shumenov has. He doesn't move his hands enough.
Not at all.
And in one particular way, one particular punch, he gives a great example to the youngsters out there of how important it is and how damaging it is when you do or don't use a jab. Because no jab from Uzelkov, and that is really hurting him in this fight.
Just allowing Shumenov to get off.
Doing no jabbing, nothing to stabilize Shumenov, nothing to set up the big shots, and nothing to score points. Doing the dead spots when the power punches are not there. Uzelkov, if the power's not on, he's not on. If he's not landing a big shot, he simply is ineffective, as he's shown tonight. One thing I stand by, though, early on, I said that as far as the heat goes, the heat will bother Shumenov more than Uzelkov because Shumenov works more. He has to work a lot harder to get things done, and the heat can affect him. Uzelkov may not be affected by the heat because he's not working at all, but he's being affected, I'm sure, by the judges' pencils. He is not getting any points on the cards.
When we came on the air, the surface temperature ringside was over 110 degrees. The temperature all day, air temperature, was in excess of 100 degrees. Now it has dropped off to just over 90 degrees as we're here in the midst of this 5th round.
Joe, maybe that's the master plan. I'd hate that to be the master plan and have to depend on that. But maybe that's the master plan of Uzelkov. I won't work, I'll just cover up, and I'll allow my opponent, the champion Shumenov, to work until he finally disintegrates in the heat. I'd hate to depend on that to win a title.
We'll see if Uzelkov is pacing himself and waiting for a moment. An opportunity at the end of 5 here to visit the Friday Night Fight studio.
All right, Joe and Teddy, we're celebrating 30 years of boxing here on ESPN. This fighter was a spectacular talent in the 80s, a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter. He was the middleweight champion of the world as well. Now serving a lengthy prison sentence, unfortunately, for conspiracy to sell drugs. But in his prime, he was superb. We look back at Michael, second to none.
Michael, second to none.
Michael Nunn is a good, sharp, crisp puncher.
Michael Nunn has really put on a textbook performance. You fought Nunn in a phone booth. He'd be tough to catch.
Oh, good body shot, sends Campos down.
Nunn comes back and pops it. Look at that hand speed.
Nunn put him away in a hurry. You talk about hitting him with a big left hand. Michael Nunn, remember the name.
Michael Nunn was a great. Beybout Shumenov is hoping to retain a title here tonight. You saw the grease applied above that right brow at the end of that 5th round. A small cut developed over that right eye of Beybout Shumenov. I talked to referee John Shorley after the round. He said it was from a short left hand from Uzelkov.
And the man whose responsibility it will be to take care of that cut is Jacob Duran in the corner of Shumenov.
Stitch Duran, fixture here in West Coast fight scene as a cut man. So a lot to devour here in the first half of this fight. They've traded knockdowns. We've seen a lot of good action from Shumenov as he's been much the aggressor. Now a cut over the right eye.
Well, they told Shumenov to make your punches count. If I'm in the corner of Uzelkov, I'm telling him, use your jab. When you press forward, you're not being effective at all. You're not coming in with a jab. You're allowing Shumenov, the busier man, to just pick his spots as you come forward.
Now look at these numbers. 141 jabs thrown to 34.
And if you're aggressive, you know, it's such a misnomer. A lot of people think if you're the mover, like an Ali, and you move, you use the ring, you need the jab. But if you're an aggressive fighter, it might even be more important for you to use a jab, because as you're coming forward, you need a cover. And without that cover, well, then the man on the outside, he can just pick you apart.
That left hook again from Uzelkov. He scored the knockdown in the first round with it.
The good news with Uzelkov, he does have some power to pull fights out of the fire. The bad news is all he does is look for those one shots all night long, and that's why he's in the fire. Uzelkov has a very strange habit. If you get a chance, and our camera gets a chance to look straight ahead at the face of Uzelkov, he does an awful lot of blinking, almost as though he has problems with his eyes. I don't know if it's the salt and the sweat that's running into his eyes, or he has some kind of eye problem that we're just not aware of. But he is squinting an inordinate amount of times.
See it there as he steps back before he engages, almost as if he's resetting in that peekaboo stance.
And he's actually doing peekaboo like you used to do with your kids. He closes his eyes.
Not enough boo, though. Too much peek.
All right.
Corner of Vячеслав Узелkov. Ring Magazine's #6 light heavyweight in the world. Ranked in the top 10 of all the alphabet soup organizations. Going after the WBA belt here tonight. 22-0, 15 knockouts. But based on what we've seen in the first half of this fight, an uphill battle still ahead of him here to try to grab the title, snatch it away from Beybout Šumenov. Teddy, he scores a knockdown in the first round, and it seems clear to see that he's probably lost every round since then.
You know, that happens sometimes, Joe, and sometimes landing a big punch early can be a curse rather than really something that's a gift. Doesn't happen all the time, but I've seen it happen many times. You see a fighter land a big shot early on, and then he stops working. He thinks that that big shot's going to come by itself. He thinks it's going to be an early night. He goes into a lower gear, and his opponent goes into a higher gear.
So the 2 10-8 rounds, first round and third round, there's the trading knockdowns. That second round was a great bounce-back, good, steady effort by Šumenov, and it set the stage and the tone for what we've seen since then. Tries to split the guard with the right hand and then puts 2 body shots in the midst of that combination. Good work from Šumenov splitting the guard again.
So far, it's Šumenov just wanting it more, just having more of an attitude of a fighter, quite frankly, than Uzelkov.
Boy, I'll tell you, Šumenov is in phenomenal shape. He is a conditioned and ripped athlete at 175. He goes 6'2", 175, and that torso is just carved up.
Maybe Uzelkov is waiting for history to repeat itself. You go back to 1952, June 25th, outdoors, Yankee Stadium, tremendously hot day. The great Sugar Ray Robinson was trying to win the light heavyweight title against Joey Maxim. He was ahead on all scorecards, and then he collapsed from heat frustration in the 13th round. And earlier, Ruby Goldstein, one of the great referees, had to be carried out of the ring and replaced. So maybe that's the master plan of Uzelkov. He read the history books. He knows that Robinson collapsed in a hot fight, in hot weather. Robinson was the guy who was winning the fight, was doing all the work. Maybe Uzelkov figures, hey, I won't work. I'll let Šumenov do all the work. He'll be ahead on all the scorecards, and he'll collapse from heat frustration.
Well, I'm curious to see if there is a point in this fight where the Uzelkov corner tells him, all right, now. And he just turns it on and picks up the pace.
There you see some of the slipping, some of the dipping of Uzelkov that can create openings, making some of the punches of Shumenov miss. But the problem with creating openings, you have to fire back for it to mean something. That part, Uzelkov having a lot of problems with, not firing back. Well, let's take a look here. We got jabs and blinks. No jabs coming. You see Uzelkov just following Shumenov around the ring without using that jab. And here's some blinks. Little blinking there, little blinking here. Little blinking once again as he touches his nose. A lot of blinking, not enough jabbing, and Shumenov leading.
Round 8. And the titleist is in control. That time he just tried to chase down the unbeaten Uzelkov. Gets the warning from John Shorley. Let's look at the CompuBox statistics. The punches through 7 rounds. And this, sometimes the numbers tell the story, sometimes they don't. But 426 to 158 tells you a bit of what we've seen tonight.
Well, you just saw something that told you there. Uzelkov, the challenger, just doing a Muhammad Ali, like when he fought Ernie Shavers, and Shavers hit him right hands. He feinted that he was hurt. He collapsed his hands a little, dropped his hands a little bit, and bent his face as though he was hurt.
Well, that uppercut had a sting.
But instead of doing that kind of posturing, I would figure that Uzelkov would be much better served just doing it the old-fashioned way, moving his hands. Once again, Uzelkov pressing, but not effectively. No jab, nothing to keep Shumenov busy. No jab at all. Just a little bit of head movement and standing in front and blocking. I mean, you could make the statement that there's no punches from Uzelkov, and you could also say no effort and no passion, no fire, or no desire to win the title from Uzelkov. I think you'd be fair to say that so far. Problem when you look for one shot at a time like Uzelkov's looking for, you're going to be behind in the fight.
Surely another warning for the holding behind the head while he's throwing those uppercuts.
And when you're looking for one shot like Uzelkov, not only are you behind in the fight, but your opponent knows only one shot's coming.
That's right.
So it's a lot easier, a lot less pressure on him defensively to deal with one shot coming than if there's an assortment of punches coming.
Predictable strategy, easy to defend against. That right hand getting around that left guard of Uzelkov.
I give Shumenov credit not only for moving his hands, but using and moving his legs to get in position to move his hands, to get in position where Uzelkov's a little out of place, a little bit off balance.
We're here in California, and one of the good-looking California prospects is here sitting ringside at Friday Night Fights. There's John Molina. 17 knockouts among his 21 wins, and the most recent came just a couple weeks ago on Friday Night Fights in what was a very good-looking fight against Hank Lundy, the previously undefeated Hank Lundy. But Molina came on strong in the second half of this fight, had a huge knockdown in the 8th, and then scored the 11th round TKO. That was a good, solid victory, Teddy, for California's John Molina.
Oh, it was a terrific victory for him, and he's a nice kid. I talked to him a little bit earlier today in the hotel, and a real gentleman.
There with his promoter, Dan Goosen, who is co-promoting this event with Beybout Shumenov. Shumenov and his brother actually were promoting Beybout's fights. And then Beybout said, you know what, it's too much of a distraction. It's too much on my plate. I just need to concentrate on becoming a better fighter. So they hooked up with Goosen. He concentrates on being a better fighter, and I think we're seeing the best version of Shumenov that we've seen here in his career. Remember, only his 11th pro fight, 9-1 in earning a title.
Yeah, Shumenov.
Stop. I got you. Break. I got you.
Has the record and the distinction of being a fighter with the fewest pro fights to ever win a light heavyweight title, doing that in his 10th fight.
Short right hand by Uzelkov wasn't effective. More of Shumenov coming straight back.
Talk about not being treated with kid gloves. Shumenov, no kid gloves in his career. They moved him fast. Went 12 rounds with a former world champion in only his 6th pro fight. Gotta give credit
Griffin, that was a 12-round decision win against Griffin over in Kazakhstan, his home country. Also was in with Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, you got to give credit, Joe, to Shumenov's people. I mean, they did quite a job. I mean, politically, you know, navigating, getting him a rematch after losing his first try for the title. Got a rematch in his next fight 5 months later. And then, of course, being in position to win in that fight what was a controversial decision. No controversy here, at least not yet. Not until maybe we hear the scorecards, but for us, it looks pretty simple. Shumenov, except for the first round, has been collecting all the rounds.
If this was a case where Uzelkov every so often he just landed a good solid punch and you were saying, yeah, but when, you know, he's not working as much, but he's being effective when he does, I understand. But that hasn't been the case since the first round.
Now, the simplest way I can say it, you know, if somebody does good, I give them plenty of credit. They don't do good, I won't give them that credit, and I will try to identify why they're not doing good, what the cause of it is. Uzelkov, he's fighting like a guy that does not want the title. Does not want it enough. He gets inside, you know, you can make an argument that maybe Uzelkov more of the power puncher here, so when he gets close, he would want to display some of that power. But he gets inside, he puts his hands behind Shumenov and does not allow himself to deliver power. He allows himself to do that. Put his hands behind Shumenov and be tied up and walked.
See some blood under the left eye of Uzelkov. There's a right hand that gets around the guard. The uppercut was deflected away. 3 rounds to go for the title at 175.
It's beautiful, but I need to see your hands up.
Beybout Shumenov looking to defend his title that he won just 10 fights into his career as a light heavyweight. You know, this is one of those lists that you look at and you say, which name doesn't belong? Beybout Shumenov. But I'll tell you, tonight, he's gaining some respect, Teddy.
He definitely is. He's doing it at the right time, the right place on national television, letting people know just who this 26-year-old light heavyweight champ of the world really is.
And he's got a good, attractive style.
Yeah, he throws punches, and that's always attractive. And he's very gritty. And you could see that he has an attitude that, I enjoy being champ, I'd like to keep it.
So round number 10, and the question for Uzelkov becomes, can he deliver that power? Because it is getting close to where it's desperation time. You would have to think that there is a commanding lead in the scorecard for Beybout Shumenov. Teddy's scorecard reads 88-81. They pause for the mouthpiece here.
If you're looking for a case, an argument to make for Uzelkov, Shumenov has been on the floor before, and it's been from a body shot.
Time in.
Maybe a thought for Uzelkov to go downstairs to that body. Not a bad idea when Shumenov has been using those legs for most of the night to get position and to keep Uzelkov out of position. Look at how square the feet. We talked about it in the fight plan. You can see it right there on your screen. Look at those squareness of the feet of Uzelkov. That is why he's such an easy target in spots that you see for Shumenov, and also that is why it is very difficult. He's not balanced, he's not positioned well to adjust to the movement of Shumenov.
Just a scorching couple of days here in Lemoore, California, and you wonder, Shumenov, a year ago he moves to Vegas. He trains and lives in Vegas, so he may have become a little more accustomed to this dry western United States high temperatures. The current temperature is 89, but it was 110 just a couple hours ago when we came on the air, where Uzelkov, coming from the Ukraine, possibly more affected and drained in the past few days that he's been here.
That's a good point, and that's a meritable point. Shumenov prepared for the element, been living in the environment that he was going to fight in more so than Uzelkov, but more importantly, the mentality of Shumenov and the preparation, maybe the preparation of the environment, but also the preparation of the game plan. Shumenov knew that Uzelkov was the kind of guy that looked for the big shots. He knew that he could keep more balance because he's square-footed, and he's done just that.
Uzelkov with a little bit of a bunny hop jump to his step now here in the final minute of this 10th round.
Yeah, forget about the bunny hop jump there, Uzelkov, to your step. Get a little bunny jump in your hands, in your punches. That's what's going to pull this fight out of the fire, and it is in the fire for you right now.
See if he can get back to what he was able to do in that first round when he scored the knockdown. But since then, it's been all downhill for the undefeated Ukrainian. The championship rounds will be coming your way. It is time for Uzelkov to wake up and try to make something happen. Can he pull it out? Can he win this title? Stay with us and find out. 6 minutes to go here for the WBA light heavyweight title. Beybout Shumenov's been boxing absolutely beautifully, and now Uzelkov's going to be complaining to the referee about a kidney punch there, and Shorley, John Shorley, the third man inside the ropes, just says fight on. There's a good right hand at the end of that three-punch combination. Shumenov picking up the pace here in round 11. He's coming out stronger than he has all night long.
Well, he's got the attitude of a fighter. His trainer just told him, don't do this. Be careful. Go out there. You got 2 rounds left. Be smart. Don't make any mistakes. And just bring this title home. Just coast home. But the fighter's mentality of Shumenov showed itself right there. He feels behaves like a champion, and he behaves like a fighter, and quite frankly, that has been the difference all night long. He behaves more like a fighter and more like a guy who likes being the best in the world than Uzelkov does.
Uzelkov just complaining again to John Shorley, that time about a punch to the back of the head. Now on the inside, they tie up, but Kevin Barry, you spoke to it, the trainer for Shumenov, he said 1 round at a time, just 6 minutes to go. I'm so proud of you, the way you're boxing. Just keep him off balance with the jab, nothing crazy, be smart. And he comes out so aggressive in these championship rounds.
But that's why he's ahead, because he has been aggressive, and he figured, why should I change that? I don't want to be reckless and crazy, but I want to still be the boss.
That's what's got him here.
Not just go into that prevent defense where you see in football with a team that could never move down the field suddenly moves right down the field because there's nothing holding them.
CompuBox statistics logging Shumenov now at over 600 punches.
You know, I gave Shumenov credit. Came in here in great shape, came with the attitude of a fighter and with a good game plan. Use his legs a little bit, keep Uzelkov off balance. I must give him credit also, him and his team, for having corrected some mistakes. He's getting better. He is better already than the tape that I saw of him in his last fight with Gabriel Campillo. He's not making as many mistakes, not leading with that left hook in front as much, not leaving himself nearly as open, and not being nearly as reckless as he was in the past.
Campillo ranked in the top 10 according to ESPN.com, and Uzelkov ranked in the top 10 according to Ring Magazine. You get the sense that things are going to change for Shumenov, that he has earned a lot of respect tonight if he can hold on and post in and retain this belt in his last 3 minutes. 12th and final round coming up next. Stay with us.
Finish like a champ.
Kevin Barry's final advice to Beybout Shumenov.
Hands up high. Give him nothing, B. Give him nothing. Come win this one.
Give him nothing. Go win this one. He said to him moments ago, finish like a champion. He is a champion, but a champion with a chip on his shoulder. He won the belt, this WBA 175-pound belt, in controversial fashion. Now he's looking the best he has in his career. Round 12 against Vячеслав Узелkov, who scored a knockdown in the first round, but then it's been all Beybout Šumenov.
You know, I was talking to Šumenov's friend, a man named Eagers, who is also a promoter. He's promoting fights with the great, famous, all-time promoter Don Elbaum. Eagers is a man who also has a stable of fighters. He was telling me a little something about Šumenov, saying that he's a very good and charitable guy, and that him and his brother are attorneys. So obviously Šumenov knows how to be successful, knows how to be clever, and as I said all night long, knows how to behave like a fighter.
His brother, who's a boxing promoter, is named Chingiz Šumenov. He actually co-promoted a Friday night fight earlier this year in Prim, Nevada, and he made a good business decision, did Beybout, saying, I cannot be involved in the promotion of this fight. I've done that in my career, and it distracts me too much. So for this fight, brings in Goose and Tudor, signs on with them, concentrates on being the best champion he could be, and you're seeing the results.
And again, you see the head movement of Uzelkov, but no punching with that head movement. He's making his head movement from too far away, where there's no danger. It's not creating any opportunities for him that far away, where Šumenov can just time that head movement, and that's what he's doing. He sees the head movement, he keeps a good range, and he just picks them apart and pot shots him as he wants to. You know, Uzelkov, a smart guy, he has a master's degree, Joe, in sports psychology. You know, and this sport is 75% mental, but not a good psychology when you don't throw punches. Maybe Uzelkov would be better served if he went and got that degree and he hit Šumenov over the head with it. I mean, that's the kind of psychology that Uzelkov could use right now. Do some punching.
Final half minute coming up here. Does Uzelkov have that lottery ticket in his gloves? Can he land and cash in that jackpot? Or will it be Šumenov coasting home?
Well, the worst thing maybe that happened to Uzelkov, he won a little money in a machine early on. You know, he won a little bit in one of those slot machines, and then he stayed on and stayed on and stayed on it, and no more winnings all night long. That's how the casino takes your money, and that's how Šumenov kept his title. Uzelkov scored a knockdown early, and he thought it was going to keep coming. It did not come. No more knockdowns, and Šumenov looks to stay the champ.
That's a great night by Beybout Šumenov. A good, solid, steady, consistent effort. We will come back and hear from the judges. Stay with us. ESPN Friday Night Fights presented by Cerveza Tecate Cone Car Actor. And in part by Castrol Edge. Get the best performance out of your car. Upgrade to Castrol Edge. And by Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move. Tachi Palace here in Lemoore, California. Time for our punch of the night, brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color. Round 3, the right hand of Beybout Šumenov just before the bell, and that really set the tone of what would go on for another 9 rounds as the WBA light heavyweight champion would put forth a good, solid, consistent effort. Look at Teddy's scorecard. Remember, the opening round, the left hand by Uzelkov scored the knockdown. It was really the only thing he accomplished all night long. It's hard to imagine any other scorecard but that, 118-108. Let's find out by sending it up to the ring and Peter Weiss.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision, and here are the scores, the judges. Judge Ray Balowitz scores it 109-117 for Judge Ralph McKnight scores about 118-108, and Judge Ignacio Robles scores about 118-108. Still, the WBA light heavyweight champion Beybout Šumenov.
So Šumenov retains the WBA light heavyweight belt. Teddy, it's tough to say this about a champion, but I think he took a major step forward. You guys got a world title, but yet he took a major step forward.
Yeah, he's not Clark Kent anymore. I don't know if he's Superman, but he's not Clark Kent anymore.
So the unanimous decision in impressive fashion for Beybout Šumenov. 10th win of his career, first title defense, and the first loss in the career of Uzelkov. Let's send it back to the studio.
Joe, Teddy, thank you so much. Dan Raphael of ESPN.com still with us. Very interesting time at 140 pounds. Let's go back to last week. Timothy Bradley, #1 Ring Magazine junior welterweight, going up to 147, taking on Luis Carlos Abregu. And early on, looked like Bradley might put Abregu out. It was an interesting fight. Bradley, of course, is unbeaten. Always a volume puncher. Slowed down a little bit here, but showed some pop. Dan, your thoughts as you're watching this fight? And looked like it could have an early knockout.
You know, I have Tim Bradley ranked #1 in the ESPN.com rankings, and I think he deserves it. At 147, he didn't look quite as formidable. Very fast, pinpoint punching, but doesn't seem to have much power. Not a big knockout guy at 140. Didn't have a lot of power at 147. Good test for him to go up there and try it out. His best fights are going to be at 140 pounds, though.
Time for Keep Your Edge, brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. Keep your edge. Timothy Bradley did indeed keep his edge in his welterweight debut. More than likely going back to 140, though. Got the unanimous decision by a wide margin over Abregu, landing nearly 30% of his punches, according to CompuBox. Abregu landing just 16%. It was by a wide margin on the scorecards. Wasn't close. At the end of the fight, of course, he asked for Manny Pacquiao, called out Pacquiao. All right, what's more realistic? Because there's a lot of talent there at 140.
Well, Timmy Bradley's in a great position. You know, here's a guy who proved himself a little bit at the 147-pound weight class, and now they're talking about 140 pounds going back there. Now, the fight that a lot of folks would like to see, a fight that HBO is interested in putting on, is him against Devin Alexander, who's going to defend his title on August 7th. Now, Timmy Bradley, though, is talking about not only fighting Alexander in January, if Alexander wins August 7th, but also trying to have a fight in December against Amir Khan. They've called each other out a little bit. Gary Shaw, who's the promoter of Bradley, and Richard Schaefer have talked about that fight.
We're out of time. Thanks for watching Friday Night Fights, Dan. Thank you.
Good night, freaks.